Yes, so shall we crash onwards to
Let's.
probably also one of the most famous and well-remembered films on this list would be Short Circuit from 1986.
Possibly because another film completely ripped it off, but yes.
Yes.
So, by coincidence, we returned to Oregon, and even the same city as the Goonies, Astoria, for Short Circuit. Yes, before anybody says anything, it starts in Washington, I know, where Wally is shown as an original role as a military robot, though here he's called Number 5 for some reason. Number 5 is a laser-toting prototype for a robot designed to carry nuclear weapons, which doesn't make a whole heap of sense. It doesn't seem practical, but this may not be the point of this film.
I love the rationale. You can drop them behind enemy lines and they'll drop weapons. It's like, can't you just drop the nuclear weapons instead? Isn't that how bombs work? Okay, whatever.
But after being struck by lightning while recharging, he develops sentience, a personality, and a conscience. He's also struck by wanderlust and a need for input. So he skedaddles out of the base, turning up in Stephanie, Ali Sheedy's food truck, where she assumes he's an alien. She is disappointed to find out that he is not an alien. But being the generous sort that she is, she forgives him for not being an alien and befriends him instead. And then helps him to stay out of the clutches of the military, who are, understandably, keen to get their multi-million-dollar property back.
They're malfunctioning, multi-million-dollar, heavily armed. Yes.
There's not much more to Short Circuit than that, and the most entertaining things by far are the moments where the robot is beginning to learn. Indeed, any time the robot is not on screen, entertainment and attention drop precipitously. Though even when Johnny 5, as he becomes known, is on screen, it's not all brilliant. For example, when achingly unfunny slapstick rubbish like the Three Stooges is brought into the mix. I mentioned Wall-E in my introductory paragraph, and if you've seen that film, then you've seen a great deal of what little this film has to offer. Pixar's character, design, activities and all is lifted pretty much wholesale from Short Circuit, though having not seen this in decades, I hadn't realised until now quite how shameless it is. As with Wall-E, any portions with humans are the least entertaining by far, and while I wouldn't call Short Circuit bad exactly, it is pretty dull and forgettable. Indeed, perhaps the most significant thing about Short Circuit is something of a meta-detail, to wit, the casting of Fisher Stevens, white Jewish man from Chicago.
Yes. Noted white man, yes.
As the brown-faced, heavily accented Ben Jabatuya, an Indian immigrant. Why, movie? Why? For what possible reason? I very much doubt I'm alone in having seen this as a child and not having discovered well into adulthood that Ben wasn't in fact Indian or of Indian heritage.
Exactly, because I'd not seen this in donkeys for a couple of weeks back, and I was absolutely sure that the Indian fella, and it's clearly an Indian fella in my mind, he looks much more Indian, but then I saw it again, it's like, this is bad. This is very bad.
I knew he was.
All my wokeness sensors are tingling. This can't work.
But only because I've heard so many different podcasts and whatever talk about Fisher Stevens being in this film, and then seeing clips on, I don't think it was Best to Worst, but something on YouTube talking about how bad hackers are, and it's shown Fisher Stevens. Why do I know that name?
Yes.
Wow, really? Jeez, oh, okay. I knew coming into this viewing about it, but how?
Yeah.
And why? It's an utterly baffling decision.
And so much of this film relies on the broadly accented foreigner misunderstanding English tropes.
Get these idioms mixed up and stuff, yeah.
You could at least, we've spoken a little bit about blackface and something with some of the zombie episodes in particular, where you could almost perhaps kind of make an argument defending it for a film made in 1910 or something, but
not 1987.
There may have been one or two people of Indian descent in Hollywood around that time that you could have picked from.
I know,
maybe, just saying.
Yeah, when you have people like Robert Donat playing a Chinese in The End of the Sixth Happiness in 1957 or whenever that film is, that's horrendous enough. Or Joseph Wiseman, Dr. No, who's meant to be... Oh, yes, please, let's not talk about Breakfast at Tiffany's. It may be the worst, or amongst the worst.
Yeah.
Or John Wayne playing Genghis Khan. Good Lord. But they had another 30 years on top of that, and they're still doing it for no reason. At least when you come to something like John Wayne, as much as I think he's an appalling actor and an appalling human being, but he was a movie star, right?
Yeah.
So like, okay, we're going to make a film about Genghis Khan. Let's fit this really big star in that people love into this role. I can understand the thinking, at least, even if it's, wrong thinking. But this character didn't need to be Indian at all. If he did, why did you put some unknown white man in there? It breaks my mind, Scott. So I say, an utterly baffling decision. It's a problem confounded by finding myself laughing at lines like, "I'm sporting a tremendous Woody right now," delivered by Stevens, and feeling tremendously guilty about it.
Yeah.
And also questioning the presence of that kind of joke in a film aimed squarely at children. Add to this the presence of domestic violence as a joke or a setup for action or comic set pieces, and Short Circuit finds itself pushed from probably not worth bothering with to you really shouldn't watch it.
Yes. I think I feel quite similar to you in some of this. And a couple of weeks back, I dropped in on this when it was broadcast on Channel 5's various spin-offs at some point or something. And I dropped in it just at that point towards the end. And I just remember thinking, this is really, really, really bad. Because I think it really, as a film, it really tails off an enjoyment factor towards the last third of it. It's just really bad. So. When I watched it again, just for this podcast, I'd start obviously at the start, as one tends to do, and I did enjoy it quite a bit more. And I think it's something similar to what you're saying. There's lots of jokes there that I feel like I really shouldn't be laughing at. That did kind of wind up still making me laugh, and I do feel a bit guilty about that, to be honest. But there it is. Yes, their disgusting race casting worked. That said, it's still a film at the end of the day that's got Steve Guttenberg in it, and I cannot condone that sort of nonsense, so no. No. I just didn't enjoy it all that much overall. The whole sentient robot thing and Johnny Five himself is pretty cool, and I like that aspect of it, and most of the stuff where he's doing his thing's pretty cool, but I think, as you mentioned, the actual humans involved in it, not all that convinced that it should have been made. Yeah,
there are bits that are reasonably funny in the sequel, Short Circuit 2, originally named. It has some similar moments too, but, and it still has Fisher Stevens in the brown face.
Yes.
At least it replaces Steve Guttenberg. Well, is he in the sequel? I can't remember, but I know he's largely replaced by Michael McKean, which is a massive step up.
Yes.
But it's the sort of combination of fish out of water and the really naive character sort of being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
There's definitely some fun there, like him suddenly joining this Latino street gang in New York City and saying, as locals kick your face, etc. So there are moments that are definitely funny there, but they're stretched pretty thin across the running time because the rest of it's dull.
Yeah.
It's not good. Again, it's far from the worst film I've ever seen, but it has so many problems, and like I say, the domestic violence thing too, that left a particularly bad taste in my mouth. It's like that's quite sinister stuff. Like this, ex-boyfriend is stalking Ali Sheedy and he's really threatening her, but it's never played like a real threat. It's more just played as a setup, and that really disturbs me.
It's played like this is just a fact of life for women, which is, if anything, more upsetting than anything else.
Well, I'm thinking how harmful that could be to kids too, especially there will be some kids watching this who are experiencing that situation, if not against them, like against their mother or something, and it's that really, perhaps even more than the racism, that bothers me. Yeah.
I try not to be too SJW wokeness in my reviews here, but you can't help but when you're watching this film, it just is not a film that you can make these days, and to be honest, that's a good thing.
Yes.
There are some enjoyable moments in Short Circuit. If for some reason you did want to watch it, I'm not going to dissuade you from it. It's enjoyable enough, even though there's many problems with it. It is problematic, as we say these days. Normally, without actually describing what any problems with it are, I find that seems to be how the word problematic is used these days. You just throw it out as a vague, I don't like this statement. But at least in Short Circuit, it is problematic, and you can quite easily identify and describe those problems. So, it is, as you say, it is clearly not the worst film we will ever see, but it is an artifact of a different era that is perhaps best left in that era. And in that regard, perhaps one of the few in this film, this list that I would say definitely is not worth adding to any lists where you're not interested in it already.
I mean, it's better than the goodies. So
true.
As far as I'm concerned, that's not a high bar to clear. I wouldn't particularly encourage people to watch either of those.
Yes.